All right, there we go. Let's get our other Facebook friends in here for it's time to go. And spinning wheels going on 1 and 2. All right, welcome in. It is another Victory Monday out here in Broncos Country. I am Nick Kendell, joined by, as always, for these morning shows over on Mile High Huddle, Scott Kennedy. It's Broncos for breakfast. Scott, how you doing? Happy Victory Monday to you. It's got to start feeling weird, right? This is something that you and I have not experienced together.
Yeah, this is not a recording. This is Victory Monday. You're not
Yeah.
watching last week's show or even the week before that or even the week before that. This is a new show on Monday as we head into Thanksgiving with the Broncos on a 4-game winning streak.
Four.
4.
1-5 to 5-5. Here we are. Broncos are winning games that for the last decade they have found new and painful ways to lose, and maybe that luck is starting to turn around here. Maybe there is some competency and belief, definitely belief, in Broncos country. It's pretty incredible. It's been fun to watch. It does feel a little bit, pardon my French here, folks, but Tebow-esque right now, just with some of the improbability of what this looks like right now. I mean, Scott, just getting right into it. 12 takeaways in 3 games is the most by a team in the span since 1997. So you're talking back to Super Bowl 32 for the Broncos. That's a long time ago. Sorry to age anybody in here. And Broncos, offensive inefficiency all game long. And then when you had to have it, you get it. The offense does just enough and you score an unbelievable touchdown with big plays from multiple players on that drive. And the defense closes it out at the end. 21-20 victory. Broncos win.
Of those turnovers, there's 12 in 3 games, which, like you said, is a ton. There's only one of those when you look at it and say it looks fluky. 5 turnovers against the Chiefs. When's the last time they gave it up that many times? But if I were to say, okay, we're playing the Bills and they turned it over a bunch. Okay, yeah, that's kind of what the Bills are prone to do. All right, we're playing the Vikings and they turned it over a bunch. Did you see their first 4 games? And now they've got a new quarterback in who's only making his second or third start and only the 12th of his career, and they turn the ball over. Yeah, okay, I get that. That makes sense. So it's not – there's some luck in there, but the other part of this is that feeling of here we go again is almost gone.
It's there. It's different, though.
Yeah, no, but I mean, you got the ball. It's yeah. Russell Wilson's got the ball with 2.5 minutes left, and you're down a score. I'm feeling good. But the I forget which player it was that basketball bounced the ball, as he breaks through.
James Cook.
I was like, it's not Dalvin Cook. Who was it?
No.
James Cook, basketball bounces it through, bounces right back up to him, and he keeps on going. You're like, oh God, here we go again. This is when it falls apart. And there was a moment like that yesterday where I felt like that as well. And I think I had just sent you a text right at that moment. It was like, well, I guess it wasn't Josh Dobbs that was going to turn into a pumpkin. And then he turns into a pumpkin. Mm-hmm. It was this Broncos defense that was going to turn into a pumpkin. And then here come the plays. So we've talked about this team not being mentally tough since you and I met. That's changing. This team can face adversity and overcome it. And it is why you went and hired Sean Payton, Nick. Mm-hmm. That's why. That's why you went, because I need to know that I can come back from adversity. And frankly, in the 2 years I covered this team prior, this Denver Broncos team could not. They can now. Yeah. And you can win a lot of games if you are mentally tough and believe in yourself. And that's the word that's going around a lot. Believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know who's believing is Richard out here saying still winning out. # proving Scott wrong.
No way. Can't happen. 0% chance. Absolutely will not. Forget about it. Absolutely not happen. The Broncos will not win out.
Is that the reverse jinx going on here, Scott? Is that
I think the only thing more powerful than the Skinnity curse, it's just less known, is the curse of the Bambino. It's just not nearly as famous, but by God, I can put a hex on a team.
Yeah, it's one at a time. Broncos, I think, still are sitting there at about 25% chance of making the playoffs. And it's just because the middle class of the AFC is so strong. But the Broncos are in a spot, and you don't want to start 1-5, but you pretty much control your own destiny at this point because you are playing a lot of teams that you're going to be competing with that you will want those head-to-head tiebreakers with. Houston Texans, that's going to be an unbelievably tough game. If you go in there and win that, you have that head-to-head. The Cleveland Browns next week. Scott, some of the data, so we don't have to get into it too much yet because we need to be Victory Mondaying versus looking ahead to next Sunday, but some of these stats surrounding this Browns defense are unbelievable. I think they have the lowest yards per play of a team since 2000 out here. I mean, they're really, really good. And
that's a home game though, right?
Yeah, I think so.
But I keep waiting for this, the offense, like, okay, to turn the corner. I'm like, okay, well, it's tough to do that against the Chiefs twice. Definitely tough to do that against the Bills on the road. And it's like, well, the Minnesota Vikings are different. They were susceptible once you finally attacked them. And then, it was like, oh, God, well, who's next? Well, God bless. It's the Browns coming up next.
Yeah, and they are, like, you look at those.
I put in the chat last night, Nick, I'm like, we need some Chargers. We need some Chargers to come to Mile High so we can put up some points here, have some fun, air it out a little bit, and have a 30-plus game out there.
Yeah, this Browns defense is unbelievable. It's almost a shame that they're getting wasted with how bad that offense is in Cleveland. But hey, that happens sometimes. We got Kathy coming in too with the €5 saying, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos Country. Happy Victory Monday to the team and to us. What a win against a nasty Vikings defense. Go Broncos, MHH for life. Yeah, this was a pretty good performance here by the Vikings defense. They held just going through some of the stats here. Why not? The Broncos went 2 for 12 on third down in this game. The Broncos were outsnapped 70-52 in plays. The Broncos actually had more yards per pass thanks to a little bit more explosiveness in the pass game, but the Vikings held the Broncos to 46 yards on 15 attempts, 31 rush yards. Not really getting it done, but at the end of the day, Scott, I mean, yards per play, all these different things, the terrible third down efficiency. Broncos takeaway 3, Broncos giveaways 0. There's your game, folks. There's your game, folks.
That's all you got to do is just go down to that turnovers and say, oh, they always put those at the bottom of a box score. Like, how the hell, if I'm I'm looking at this, how the hell did the Vikings lose this game? They did this better. They did this better. They did this better. Oh, there it is. 3-0. There's the difference in the game. And there's some consternation around Russell Wilson, and I get it. And again, I think I yelled at the screen yesterday, throw the damn ball, Russ, at least twice, get rid of the ball. But I feel like the handcuffs are just on him.
Yeah.
I don't think this is all on him, that why he's not pushing the ball down the field more. I think that's just part of the game plan. It's almost like a rope-a-dope. It's like, let's go underneath. One more time, let's go underneath. And then what happens in the 2-minute game when they absolutely have to have it? Oh, now it's open. Now I can go for the chin. Now I can throw that big haymaker. And I've got Sutton out there. If I get single coverage, I'm just going to put it anywhere near him and get a play out of it. It's, again, we can talk about luck of the turnovers and this isn't sustainable, but when you execute what looks like is your game plan, you can't call it luck. If you think it's luck, let's do it again. Well, this is 3 in a row you've executed this game plan. And if you really look back to the Packers game, it's pretty similar. Let's just keep it close, lean on our defense, which is playing well, and we'll get the ball back and go score. I don't want to always play that way, but it works in the regular season. I'd like to see them peaking a little bit more on offense come playoffs, because you don't want to fall behind a playoff team, so to speak, when they're, especially if you're going to be on the road. Mm-hmm. But yes, Kathy, enjoy. It's been, this has been fun. And again, like I said, this is why you went and spent on Sean Payton. This is why you went and got him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, not having that second round pick this year is going to stink, but definitely make that trade with what we know right now. And we'll see how it continues to go. We got Wang Chung coming in saying, I am the dank knight. They ain't coming off. Good to see you, WC21.
He's got his lucky undies on. That's what he is referencing. We're into the underwear portion of the show.
Already. This is this Mile High Huddle OnlyFans. Thank you so much, Wang. We appreciate you coming in. And Anthony Edwards, 1999, says, good morning, Broncos Country. Glad to have the win. Funny to watch a team refuse to kick it to Mims. Thought the refs were a little flag happy, but at least it was even for both. Loved watching 99 turn it up in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I thought the flags were not actually that high. 10 in the game. I mean, that's not crazy. 6 for the Vikings, 4 against the Broncos. But yeah, it's something that we'll have to watch going forward. I didn't see any like procedurals for the Broncos. We didn't have a delay a game or a false start or anything. I think there was a delay a game on the Vikings they should have called, but I digress. I thought it was a pretty even game from the
Yeah,
referee standpoint.
Anthony. I actually thought there were under flagged a few times. There was some holding in there that I thought was
Yeah.
fairly obvious. Especially there was a nice stretch play that Madison had to the left side where it looked like it may have been McMillan in there. Just his jersey almost gets ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to protect that edge. It may not have been him, but it was a defensive back on that edge. And I was like, that's about as obvious a hold as you're going to get. And he got 12 yards on that play.
Yeah.
That was one, but I thought, I didn't have any problems with the way the officials called this one. But yeah, Mims is, Kevin O'Connell mentioned Mims earlier. He's like, this isn't opinion, this is fact. He's statistically the best kick returner, punt returner in the game. That's what they have going for him. And then Zach Allen is turning into the guy that we thought he could be. And that's also a really good thing. And, a guy like Zach Allen, he's going to need a lot of food after a game. So he can be someone like you can be to make Little Caesars, who is the official pizza sponsor of the NFL, part of your game day. One of the reasons I like Little Caesars is not only just because it's something I can eat and eat often as a vegetarian, it's affordable. You try to go out and get a boutique pizza these days, it's like, what do you mean a pizza's $40? So it's affordable, which is nice. So order online during our Pizza pregame, 1 hour before and 3 hours after NFL kickoffs, plus all day on Sunday, and get ready for some football and fun. Choose your favorite Little Caesars pizza or pick the toppings you crave. Either way, you win.
Yeah, me personally, I love a supreme pizza. Give me all the stuff on it you possibly can, but hard to go wrong with a classic pepperoni. The wife is a vegetarian, so get the veggies on there as well. Mushrooms, we're a big fan of mushrooms in this house. I think you have to be living in the Pacific Northwest, right? Everything's wet all the time. You just become one with the mushrooms. But you gotta love Little Caesars. And speaking of winning, everyone scores with convenient delivery in our in-store pizza portal pickup. So grab some friends and enjoy a few slices during the game this upcoming weekend. We got football Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday coming up here. Should be a lot of fun. Make sure you enjoy it with Little Caesars.
Absolutely. And yes, I used to get the Lucky Sevens. I told you about that when I was in high school. Two medium pizzas, 7 toppings. Talk about the Supreme for $7.77. Try and do that now, for God's sakes. Michael Ranquillo says, good morning, Scott. Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Good morning, Michael. Thanks for being here today. Appreciate the support you always show all of our shows. Coach Chris, happy Thanksgiving. I'll take that win. It wasn't pretty. It looks pretty in the win column. I'm teasing Chris. He says, Vance called some boneheaded moves yesterday, and imagine if we can get the same output from Russell Wilson for the entire game instead of just the fourth. We could be scary. Again, I still think how much of this is on Wilson and how much of it is part of the game plan. I feel like he's just been beaten into his head. Do not turn the ball over. Do not put it in harm's way. When he threw that ball at the end of the second quarter into the end zone, up for grabs, really, into double coverage on that. How often do we see that in a game from Russell Wilson? That's the first time I remember seeing it in weeks, Nick. I think I texted you at the time. I'm like, well, Russell Wilson won't be allowed to throw downfield again for another month. So I don't put all of this on Russ. I think he's executing the game plan. And what is he now? 19 touchdowns or 4 interceptions, 4 wins in a row. The man is executing it well.
Yeah, he definitely is. I mean, Scott, there's guys that are open down the field that are not getting seen or tossed. There was that Judy 3rd down, short of the sticks one in the red zone after the second turnover. I can't remember exactly which one. They were about to score a touchdown, and you have Mims wide open on the right side of the field, and he stares down Judy the whole way. There was another 3rd down where you have Atkins wide open also. I mean, just he's missing guys. Now, granted, everybody can do Monday morning quarterback pause. What's the progression like? Maybe somebody's not even in the full read. They're just a spacing element of the route design. But there's meat left on the bone there, and there are some explosives down the field. I do think a lot of it is the training wheel slapped on a tad, and it can win you football games. The issue is that it's going to help you keep a lot of teams that are better than you close, but it's going to keep teams that are worse than you close as well. I've watched enough Iowa Hawkeye football games to know we are calling an offense that is playing not to lose. And when your defense is taking the ball away at the rate they are, and you are not turning it over, you can win football games. Also, you can't do that unless the special teams is an added benefit too with the field position battle, which overall they have been. So it is pretty interesting. I don't think it's as simple as just call the plays that you call in the 2-minute offense. There is something to be said about setting up design and not putting the ball in harm's way too often. It's just a numbers game at that point. But yeah, it's a good to see the Broncos doing enough to get the victory. Is it a sustainable method here? I mean, some of the data here, Scott. Broncos, how many points do you think they have off of 12 turnovers in 3 games? Points directly
30,
off of turnovers.
30.
32, which is an horrible conversion rate. You'd be expecting double to triple that, honestly, for what a league average would be. So they're not really taking advantage of the turnovers other than good field position and winning the field position battle off that and getting field goals. Will Lutz set, I think, a franchise record for field goals in a 4-game stretch, which, good for him, but a lot of that is really good field position and the offense not getting first downs off of the turnovers. But it's been enough to win these games going forward. Again, 12 takeaways, the most since a team since 1997. I saw Sean Payton after the game said the turnover streak is sustainable. Sean. We have enough data here to know that that's not the case. But you can take it while you can.
What else he said? And
what
I
else
quote,
did he say?
"We were fortunate to win."
Yeah.
So he knows. He knows that they've got to be better. On the offense has to do more to help what the defense is doing. He knows.
Yeah. Without a doubt. But thank you so much, Coach Chris. The $20 super with the dude there in your picture. It's always good to see in here. Flashing orange like that. We also got Miguel coming in saying, "Good morning, fellas. Great day in Broncos Country and New Mexico." Congrats to New Mexico State. Sorry, Scott. Still can't get over the Jerry Jeudy fake throw.
I didn't even register, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, that's
from a fandom point of view, I'm paying attention to one of them, and they were off this week.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The JJ
For those
fake
of you listening, that's Chelsea Football Club, because
yes,
I live in Atlanta. Atlanta was off this week. Every Falcons fan said, "Oh, so relaxing. It was so much nicer not have to be pissed off about Atlanta Falcons football."
It's a good time when the bye week comes. You can just enjoy the game. But the Jerry Jeudy fake throw there, that was great. Jerry Jeudy, big old smile after that as well. A lot of fun. And in the locker room, he was feeling himself too. Did want to give Jerry Jeudy a semi shout out. I need to go back and watch it again, Scott, because I had a lot of people on me when I tweeted it out. That throw that looked like it was very ill-advised that we already talked about in here. I had people saying like, "Man, we can have anything here but a turnover or a sack because we just need points." I mean, touchdown would be great. Anything but a turnover or a sack. And then Russell throws it, what it looked like, into a bad spot. Mm-hmm. Some people are saying Jerry Jeudy slowed up on the route. I'll have to go back and see it, but
it doesn't matter. There's 2 defenders there.
The decision was faulty, but
that wasn't the right throw to make. And like I said, as soon as it happened, I tweeted Nick. I said, "Well, he's not going to be allowed to throw the ball downfield again for another month."
Yeah, but did want to give Jeudy a shout out for the play making in terms of turning into defensive back there. I mean, that could have easily been a pick. And guess what, folks? This is a loss with those points off the board. Jeudy goes in there. He gives the wide receiver incomplete sign after making the play. That's when you know they're doing something out there. Little fun feeling themselves. But Jeudy did. That's an unsung play that won't show up in the stat sheet. But from my first watching, credit to Jeudy. Maybe he slowed down on the route. Maybe it should never have been that close to a pick, but still made a play on the ball and didn't let it become a pick, and that results in 3 points.
I kind of forgot about this, the JJ fake throw, the Jeudy fake throw. I was playing flag football as an adult, and our safety intercepted a ball. So he's a defender returning it, and he pump faked a guy. He totally sold it. I mean, he wound up like this, and the guy jumps, and I swear, and then he just walks right around him. I swear he got up there. It was like a cartoon. He jumped up and was just stuck in the air, looking around like, "Oh, I can't believe I fell for that." So that was on an interception return. He pulled the pump fake. It's reflexes, man. It happens. It's a little surprised we don't see it more often. Great play from Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, the issue is that once the ball is out, right, it's not as secure. And if somebody's around you at all, the ball is life, right? You got to protect that thing, as the Broncos are showing right now. 0 turnovers. That's the key stat in this one from the Broncos, winning the turnover battle by +3. I just looked up the data, Scott. Teams that win the turnover battle by +3 in the NFL win football games 91% of the time. Honestly, I'm surprised it's not higher than that with a 3+ turnover differential. It goes up to 97 for +4, but protecting the football, getting it done. Troy Bauer in the house also says, hey guys, Boer, excuse me, of course, Troy Boer says it almost looks like Russell Wilson deliberately takes baby steps in the offense each week when he feels he can without a turnover. Love we are winning with so many ways to improve. My biggest offensive takeaway from this one, Scott, wasn't necessarily the passing offense from the Broncos. Now, granted, it does have to be better. Going 2 for 12 on third down, that is not a winning formula at all. Big contrast to what we saw last week versus the Bills. But the rushing efficiency in this game was horrific overall. I think the Broncos finished third to last in the NFL in rush EPA per play. It wasn't a high volume output from the Broncos in this one, but I mean, Samaje with only 3.4 yards a carry. Thank God he had a 15-yard rush in there. One of his rushes was half of his total yards from the game. So the Broncos need to figure out a little bit better way to create a more sustainable, efficient run game. Wasn't necessarily the game plan this week against the Vikings in their tight formations. We talked about that a lot. Broncos probably going to spread it out a little bit so that way they have easier pre-snap reads on who could be rushing and who could be dropping. But yeah, this one, it's not all on Russ. To be fair, the running game on this one didn't look like they showed up for Denver.
Again, and to me, it goes hand in hand. You know, when you're faced, especially against that team, Nick, who's putting 9 guys in the box, if you don't have a threat of going beyond them, and, you know, I actually like Collinsworth, but, you know, I got to cover his son, so I came in contact with Chris Collinsworth, so I'm a little biased because he was one of the good dads that was famous. So I give him the benefit of the doubt, but he called out a couple things that I was kind of waiting for this, and it was just the ability to go deep. And it seems like Sean Payton just holds it until I need it. I'm not going to use that card until I need it. Until then, now I am going to stick with the run game. I learned my lesson early about getting away from it too early. And I'm just going to keep running and body shot over the top. But it's, again, it's nice when we talk about winning cures all. We're nice talking about these things that can be fixed, it can be better. It's like you see it, Nick. You said, well, this guy was wide open for an explosive, and this guy was wide open for an explosive. Man, those are there. That's a good thing while you're still winning. Now, can you hit them when you absolutely have to have them? And the answer in these 4-game winning streak has been yes. Yes, you can. So, Troy, good to see you. Thank you so much. D Porter comes in. Good to see you, D. He says, good morning, MHH. I'm still in shock. 5 to 6 weeks ago, we were all ready to ship out half the team, and now look. Hoots Lee is going, we have a lot of ball left. That may have been a voice-to-text type of thing, or I just missed it. Yeah, it was after the Jets game. We're starting to look at draft. You know, yes, Caleb Williams or Drake May. This is going to be a top 2 pick. And then I think it was even, what was the record after the Chiefs game? We're like, okay, you know, no, I think you're going to play your way out of this. Yeah, you're 1-5 after the Chiefs game. You beat the Packers. I'm like, okay, now we're done talking about this. This team's too good to go 2-15. Now we're talking playoffs. And we started talking playoffs last week. Now everybody's going to be talking playoffs.
You got to keep winning. Thank you, D Porter, so much for the $9.99. You got to keep winning. I think the Broncos playoff odds now sit at about 25%, which is, you know, we were talking like 2% just a few weeks ago. So what can
Where's
you
my
do?
line graph? We can talk, well, it's only 25%, but you know what? That line graph from week to week to week is going to be on a roller coaster incline right now for your percentages.
Without a doubt. I think it is still important to understand the perspective that you have a large uphill battle to make the playoffs. You have to keep winning here. You cannot trip up. You already lost your wiggle room starting 1-5, losing to the Commanders, losing to the Raiders, losing to the Jets. 3 super winnable games for the Broncos. Ones that, I mean, just win one of those, you're sitting there 6-4, very much in the driver's seat. Probably talking 55% chance of winning, making the playoffs. But got to keep winning, and they got some tough ones continuing going forward. But as we've seen, the Broncos can hang with anyone. The margins are so tight right now, Scott, that it feels like, you know, the balloon could pop if some things don't improve, but it's a tough league. How many of the games in the NFL are like this every single week? That's what makes the NFL so great. And Broncos have been finding ways to win in the margins, and it's turning out with victories.
And most importantly, again, they have learned to overcome adversity. They're not just folding up shop and laying down when things start going bad, when something goes against them. Because we've seen it 2 or 3 times where I feel that, oh, here it is. This is the Denver Broncos I've been watching. No, it's not anymore. Now it's like, okay, Russ has the ball. There's 3 timeouts and 2:50 left on the clock. They got this. They absolutely got this. Alan Forster comes in on Facebook and asks a question, kind of set the tone for the game. Morning, Nick and Scott. Did Kareem Jackson get away with one last night?
We will find out soon from the NFL. I think that looked like a pretty questionable play, all things considering. I would not be surprised at all if he got a big fine or even if he was suspended again. We'll see. It looked like he launched. I don't know if it was full-on targeting. I didn't see forcible contact with the head.
Oh, yeah.
There was forcible. Okay,
Oh,
I'm going to be honest with you, Scott.
Yeah. It was duck the head. So the answer for me, Ellen, on this absolutely yes. I kept waiting for them to stop the clock, the ball, and have a quick review of sorts. And I will be absolutely shocked if Kareem Jackson is not a little lighter in the wallet again this week.
I mean, if that's the case, he might be out for the rest of the season. I mean, honest to God.
He came in, and he came in again. It's not about, well, the guy's ducking down, he's being tackled. So that's not the point. The point is he launches straight ahead, ducks his head, and uses the top of his helmet. That is against the rules. And why? Because it's dangerous for the guy he hit, kind of upper like clavicle area that ended up catching the lower part of his face mask. And it's dangerous for him. It's a wonder he hasn't broken his freaking neck. After that, I didn't see him do it again.
Yeah.
Because that's how he tackles. That's how he usually tackles. He comes in straight ahead, ducks his head. I didn't see him do that again high. I saw him going after some knee. I don't mean going after knees, but low, trying to cut legs, doing that. But he ducks his head. He does not see what he tackles. And he tackles with the crown of his helmet. It is reckless, and he absolutely got away with one last night. And I text Nick after it happened. I thought the first tackle that Kareem Jackson made was going to be his last, because that might not have been an ejectionable offense for a non-repeat offender. Kareem Jackson would have been tossed.
Yeah, it's surprising. I guess, so I was driving home from a baby class when this happened because, of course, it got out late and stuck in traffic. Did he make forcible contact with the helmet of TJ Hawkinson, like helmet to helmet, or was it
on that play?
Yeah,
on that play, it was upper chest, and then he caught the bottom of his face. He caught the bottom of his face mask.
Okay,
and rocked him back.
That's what I was asking. It wasn't like targeting the helmet with your helmet, but
he caught him. He came in with a sailor dive torpedo tackle that he is wont to do, with his head down and the top of his helmet, the first thing to hit the opposing player, and it hit him right in the area between neck, face mask, upper chest. And it did. It buckled if that was Hawkinson. I couldn't remember who the ball carrier or the receiver
It was Hawkinson.
Was.
It was a direct snap to TJ Hawkinson on a third down.
Yeah, it was third down. I don't remember. Like I said, I just remember the impact, the style. It was he'll get fined for that.
Yeah, without a doubt. We got $20 again coming in from Coach Chris here, saying Jaquan McMillan is a baller. He's considerably better than Mathis. He's always around the ball and making plays. I actually thought Julian Allen played well too. This is getting fun to watch again. Yeah, this was a very overall poor game, I would say, from Singleton. He was probably a negative out there, all things considered, and a lot of the other defensive linemen struggled too, but very good call on McMillan. He's been awesome. Now, when you say he's better than considerably better than Mathis, they're playing different spots. McMillan is actually replaced Essang Bassey out there. He's primarily playing that nickel slot spot where you've had Fabian Moreau, actually the replacement for Mathis, but I digress. McMillan's been awesome. Been taking the ball away like crazy. Very physical player. Ball hawk, has his eyes on there, and to have to give a shout out to Christian Parker. I don't think that overall, I don't think the Broncos front seven in terms of their run defense has been that much better. Obviously some of the pass rush has been better, but the big difference I've seen from the Broncos is just how much better the back seven has been in pass coverage and the cohesion there. And you're taking a lot of mismatched pieces here. I mean, Fabian Moreau has bounced around 4 teams in the last 4 years, 3 teams in the last 3 years. Mathis is an undrafted free agent out of Eastern Carolina. all of a sudden it's working really well with that back seven. They look good. They're taking the ball away. Wanted to give a shout out to Christian Parker. Might be his last season in Denver as a defensive backs coach because he might get a shot somewhere as a defensive coordinator next year. I would not be surprised at all.
Yeah, I looking at McMillan, we've said one of the underrated losses of this team was Kawan Williams.
Mm-hmm.
And it was early on. And right now, McMillan's even better. Kawan Williams and DJ Jones, love the way those guys played. Two of my favorite players watching the Broncos, two imports from San Francisco. McMillan is an upgrade on where Kawan Williams was last year. Kawan Williams is relatively cheap. I think he was only $2 or $3 million. I couldn't believe he was that cheap coming in as a free agent for as well as he played. So I would still try, and he's older and coming off an injury. I don't know if he's got a chance to come back, but he's now expendable because McMillan is playing even better than he was, and it shows. If I line him up on the right side of the defense, you just became really hard to run wide against with McMillan in the slot over there and Baron Browning on the edge. Mm-hmm. And the third part of that is then Zach Allen. So they all line up on the same side. I've taken away, to a certain extent, one part of your run defense, of your ability to run to that side, which is something that the Broncos really haven't been able to say in a while. And then what he's able to do, the ball hawking nature, I feel like, remember the Titans, we got ourselves a football player. It's just the guy makes plays. What do you mean? The guy's a player? What do you mean? Just watch McMillan. He's not going to test off the charts. He's just going to go out there and make plays. He's really, really good. What an upgrade that has been, especially not just over. Yes, I said it. He's an upgrade over Williams, but my God, what an upgrade over who he replaced, for God's sakes, Nick, because he didn't replace Williams. Williams was already hurt.
Yeah. Shout out. Feel bad saying Bassey, everybody says he's a great guy, had some good preseason stuff, but the physicality, the lacking of explosiveness, the twitch was there. I think the big difference between Jaquan McMillan and Kawan Williams has been the turnover ability, which is, super, super valuable. Kawan has him in the physicality department as, edge setter, and also the blitzing ability. I think they've really missed that this season, given what we're seeing with simulated pressures up front. Having your slot be able to blitz is a huge benefit, and I haven't seen that as much from McMillan. But Broncos got something here with McMillan. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they keep him in slot. He's your slot for the foreseeable future. He might get a shot on the boundary this offseason as well. We'll see what because you have a question marks at that other wide corner opposite Surtain. But yeah, he's been awesome. Allen's been playing better. Really glad to see that hit that he took from Alexander Singleton, I believe it was only a stinger and out there for one play and back in. Broncos do not have the depth on the defensive line. If last night should make that pretty damn obvious, where you can be losing guys. If the Broncos have to be one of I made up stat here, Scott, but defensive linemen on the ground per run play, they have to be one of the worst teams in the NFL at that, because I see the defensive linemen just bodies on the ground in those run plays. But again, enough to get it done with the turnovers. So we'll see if they can keep improving and win other ways, because the turnover margin is probably not going to keep happening, but anything can happen.
No, but there's room for easy improvement on the offense. So that's good. Win while find different ways to win and adjust as needed. Maybe I have to be more aggressive on offense. That's okay. The plays are there. They are there. We're just not taking them because we haven't needed them yet. Okay, well, that's not a bad way to be. Antoine agrees also. He says, McMillan has been a life-saving pickup for this team. Great show. All right, 3 guys came in midseason as part of this turnaround. Rank them in order of their impact. Baron Browning, McMillan, Moreau.
Man, I would probably have to go. Now, he's not the most valuable, but the biggest impact would probably have to be Jaquan McMillan, because the turnover, you're winning off of turnovers right now. He's taking the ball away. Bingo, bango. You'd probably in this sample size have to say McMillan. After that, it would be Browning, because you have been really poor in getting after it. And he's part of a rotation. He's kind of quieted down a little bit from those first 2 games, which, again, not shocking that the rate was not sustainable that we saw in those first 2 games. But he's been playing really well. And after that, Moreau. I mean, there's a few plays here or there where it's probably a matter of time before we see somebody isolate Moreau more so and try to do it in the quick pass game, where it's like, okay, you're going to have to make a tackle in space. Good luck, because that's concerning.
He's not Moreau, a good tackler.
He's just the physicality in space is but he's your fifth best secondary player. So, I mean, that can happen. You're going to have a wart there pretty much no matter what the season after Mathis looked like he did. But I think I would go, just because of the turnover value, McMillan, Browning, Moreau. Now, as far as going forward, who are the more valuable pieces? Browning would be number one out of that group. But yeah, McMillan's been playing incredible.
With this defensive turnaround that started the week of the Kansas City Chiefs loss, from there moving forward, when we start talking about the defensive improvement, I have them in the exact same order, but each one of them has made a big difference in this team. And what a difference just a few players can make. Y'all, when we start talking about, would you rather have this guy or would you rather have $18 million in free agency money? There isn't one of those three that's making over $6 million. So you can find good, competent professional players in there that can make a big difference on your team that you can plug in for depth reasons alone. It's not always about the superstars. Now, you want the superstars too, but when you're making those decisions on who would you rather have, those are the kind of things you're thinking of, because three players who are Fabian Moreau's a journeyman, Wood McMillan an undrafted free agent, and then a converted inside linebacker to edge, and it's a totally different defense. I mean, there's more factors to it than that, but I think personnel is the biggest difference in the way this defense is playing. I mean, that's huge. McMillan, I had him in the same order just because of the impact that McMillan has had on this stretch right now. Papa Kendell coming in, Darren Kendall. Good to see you, Darren. He says, loving the Broncos again. Nicholas, you broke the losing streak by attending their Packers game. It was just one of those things that there was just so much voodoo in the air that something had to break and something had to give. And my God, once we took the top off of this thing, it's a 4-game winning streak, Nick.
Yeah, it's been pretty great. Good to see you, Dad. Hope he's back in Colorado right now. Going to hang out with the sister for Thanksgiving. So good to see the Kendalls back in Estes Park. Hope you're doing well. And thanks, Dad. Appreciate you. Love you. It's been fun. It's been a bit since the Broncos have been good. We used to watch all the games together, come back home from college on the weekends and hang out with them and watch the Broncos find some really sketchy stream to hook up to the TV, because living in Iowa, we'd be stuck with, Bears, Packers, Vikings, Chiefs. But yeah, Cowboys too.
Everybody sees the Cowboys.
Yep. It's or Steelers. But yeah, good to see you, Dad. Hope you're doing well. And I think Mile High Huddle broke the streak. I was just happy to see a game in person where the Broncos won. Anthony Edwards 999 says, yeah, you're right with the flags. I guess I'm still a little salty about the flag on Bulls not declaring himself as an eligible receiver. Yeah, they'll clean that up. Whatever that was, hopefully they'll clean that up. That sucked.
I agree with him. He says, I feel like defenses should have to recognize that. I kind of agree with that. If I go out and line up 8 offensive linemen, it's
for the refs. It's for the refs. It has to do with who's allowed to travel so far down the field.
How many refs do I need out there to be able to figure that out? How many? I don't even know the answer to this, but there's at least 6 referees on the freaking field.
You can line up though in a way where it's not obvious who it is. So one of the players has to declare.
It's pretty obvious if I've got a center, but you don't have to line up 2 on each side.
No, you can do overload. And I think that's what it was. Hence why he had to declare, because it has to do with how far down, because the eligible guy can move beyond that 1 yard of the box for the blocking. So it's a procedural thing. I don't know if it might have actually been, I think I saw on the cutaway, Sean Payton was ripping into little Jordan Humphrey after that play. So I don't know if it was actually Bulls who made the mistake there, but actually little Jordan Humphrey, who maybe was supposed to say something to the ref. I don't know, but in the end, it's Broncos losing a 3rd down conversion, going from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6. Don't get it done and end up on the day 2 and 12, but they got the points there. They didn't turn it over or take a sack to get out of range, and every single point mattered when you win by 1.
Yeah, staying within range again. And then we talk about the defense, which it hasn't done in past years, getting stops and getting the ball back to the offense. In past years, you settle for that field goal, the other team kills the clock.
Mm-hmm.
That's not happening anymore. That's not happening. This is a different team. I don't have to tell y'all, but it's a different team. Coach Chris coming in again. Good to see you. He says, not a negative Nancy. Our tackling yesterday was horrible, but even worse, Chris Collinsworth needs to shut up. Are there people out there that actually like to listen to him? Like I said, I don't mind Collinsworth. And after listening to probably half a dozen college games over the weekend. Oh my God. The announcing in college football is absolutely sickening. It's nauseating to listen to. The pro guys aren't so bad. If you spend an afternoon flipping through college games and listening to those guys, oh my God, it's awful. It's just awful. Now, the number one crews are pretty good. If I've got, I don't even mind Danielson on CBS. And, I'm a big fan of Herb Street, who does all those things. Todd Blackledge was always one of my favorite guys. Can't mind a Gus Johnson calling checkers. That doesn't really matter. He can call anything. But, those are 5 games and they're showing 50. Oh, it's just brutal, man. So I get you on that. But the first point on this, Coach Chris, the tackling was horrendous. The tackling was really bad. This may be the game where DWI guys was pulling, rubbing his head, pulling the hair out, saying, linebackers, please, linebackers.
Yeah, Singleton did not have a good game. Josie Jewell was okay again. I mean, that turnover where he jumped on the ball, I mean, the awareness, the headiness to get that football. I mean, I'm talking about the Alexander Madison one, the second fumble of the game. I mean, he did enough for me. But you're right, Scott. They definitely do need to clean up the tackling. And speaking of cleaning up, do we got anything else we got to talk about?
Yeah, if you're looking to clean up, if you're ready to spice up your Thanksgiving as we dive headfirst in the mountains of mashed potatoes and cranberry sauce, let's talk about the unsung hero of holiday season, the Manscaped Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. That's right. It's time to go cold turkey on your old razor and take care of your own self with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. Visit manscaped.com and use code HUDDLE for 20% off and free shipping, and enjoy Thanksgiving in style with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra.
Yeah, you got to be careful. You don't want any nicks or accidents down there. Don't want to mess with your turkey leg, as we like to say. And don't let your poor grooming be the topic of dinner conversation this Thanksgiving. With the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, you'll be the talk of the table. It's waterproof, so you can groom wet or dry. And let's face it, we all want to look our best before carving that bird up. Plus, the LED spotlight ensures you don't miss a spot, even in low light situations. So make sure you're checking out Manscaped.
Yep. Call and get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped, and use the code HUDDLE. Be thankful this holiday season for the best gift of all from Manscaped. All right, Nick, let's head back into the chat. Brandon Williams was saying we're talking about some tackling that should have been fine. I didn't see this one. He says, but Bobby Wagner should have been fined for that hit on Stafford yesterday. And he might be. That those don't come out until the middle of the week. So we'll see if Wagner, they've been pretty judicious in giving out fines this year. So Wagner may not have gotten away with that one either.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I missed that as well. I saw that Drew Lock came in that Seattle game and threw a absolutely boneheaded interception into just didn't make sense situation. The Seahawks had the lead and then they end up losing after that turnover. But
I think they play. Yeah, they play on Thanksgiving, so he'll probably start the next game.
I don't know the extent of Geno Smith's injury.
They said it was on a short turnaround. 3 days to get ready, and it's 49ers at Seahawks that he may be starting that game.
Oh, that could be something. Must watch TV, of course. So yeah, Scott, it's back to the Broncos here. Obviously, we talked a bit about the offense and the rush game specifically, but we've gone this long without talking about who, for me, was the MVP of the game. Now, only 4 receptions overall in the game, but Courtland Sutton, I mean, can you talk about making an impact for your receptions for an offense that is not totally a high volume passing attack? I know we had 35 attempts in this game, but Courtland Sutton, 5 targets, 4 receptions, 66 yards, and 1 touchdown. And those 2 catches he had on that final drive could be highlights for guys for the entire year. One of them was a hold by the defensive player on that 4th down, but he goes out there. He would not be denied. Guys all over him. Pace, who's been awesome for the Vikings at linebacker. Sutton makes the play. And then that touchdown, Scott, that looked like prime Des Bryant out there climbing the ladder and going up there and then getting his feet down at the same time. That was just Sutton's got to be up there somewhere. I'm going to toss up a shot here and hopefully it comes down with it. Your playmaker goes out and makes a play. Number 14, having a hell of a year. Might not make the Pro Bowl because, again, this is not a high-volume passing attack, but he is playing unbelievable football right now, and I'm so happy for Courtland Sutton. Great guy. Just coming off that injury now, it's awesome to watch.
Think you get a 3rd round pick for him now?
Yes.
Yes. God, I can't believe that the idea of him. Well, we're looking to get maybe a 3rd. I don't believe that, Nick. I don't believe the Broncos would have given him up for a 3rd.
Yeah,
he's way too valuable for your team, comparatively speaking, for a 3rd round pick. And if they want to try and restructure, right now you're in the we want to restructure your deal and give you an extension mode. You absolutely want to give him a new deal. I think he has 1 year left on his contract. You can save $10 million. I think it's 18-8, somewhere in that neighborhood, or maybe it's even 18-3 on dead cap money, where you can save $15 million. When you've got a guy playing like this at this level, that screams restructure / extension. And you keep him and lower his cap number next year, because you don't want Courtland Sutton going anywhere. He's playing phenomenally. And one of the reasons I've got a lot of biases, that is one of them. It's one of the reasons I like a big receiver. He's open. But credit Russell Wilson. That's just not throwing it up, because as I've learned, you still have to put it in the right area. You cannot underthrow that guy. You cannot overthrow that guy for him to make that play. You can put it side to side, but you cannot, you still have to put it in the right area for him to have a chance, because if he has to go backwards, it's out of the end zone. Yeah. And if he has to come forward, he has to go through a defender to do it, and you can't do that. But if you can put it up above him where he can elevate, he's scoring touchdowns. What a game. What a phenomenal game. He had that one-handed rolling catch where you couldn't really see from the initial angle because it's on the sidelines. You're like, okay, that one's going to be close. Then they show the backside replay. You're like, that wasn't close. He totally cradled that ball. I don't think it even beautiful. He's playing phenomenally. Great to see.
Yeah. If anything, I want to say, again, the offense right now looks structurally like they are trying to play suffer ball to an extent, to coin you, Scott. But as long as you're not turning over the ball, you have a chance to win football games. Got to get a little bit more efficient. But in a more high volume passing attack, I would be curious what it would look like with Sutton out there, because he's playing just as good a football as we've seen since 2019. And it's great to see. Maybe not the same level of explosiveness in terms of the screen game and the quick game, because it used to be Russell. Courtland Sutton was actually a pretty good yak weapon. Haven't seen that so much. Some of that might be quarterback stuff too, but he's playing awesome. And did want to give a shout out to 14. He was probably my MVP from yesterday's game, despite only having 4 catches.
When you're a crazy stat, Nick.
Yes.
He's second in the NFL in touchdowns. He's got 8. Tyreek Hill leads with just 9. Right behind him is Keenan Allen. And then there's a bunch of guys with 7. It's sorted by, I don't know what it's sorted by. Probably by number of catches after that. I don't know how they've sorted this.
Team order.
The point is, Tyreek Hill with 9 touchdowns has 1,200 yards receiving. Keenan Allen with 7 touchdowns has over 1,000 already. Courtland Sutton with 8 touchdowns has 499.
That's unbelievable.
And then I go down, I'm like, that's not even close, because the next one is, Stephon Diggs has 7 with 900 yards. Mike Evans with 780 yards. Well, here's Romeo Doubs from Green Bay with 7 touchdowns and 396 yards. All he does is catch touchdown passes, Nick.
Yeah. He's been phenomenal down there, and he's been just awesome in general. I know people keep talking about wanting to get more Mims touches, wanting to get more Jerry Jeudy touches. I need more Courtland Sutton touches. Now, granted, I know a lot of it is scheming up for that right moment to make that read and throw as well. So sometimes the higher count number doesn't exactly lead to efficiency. But yeah, Sutton, an absolutely incredible game from him. Would not be denied on that last drive, and just playing with a lot of heart and seeing the ability there. He has a chance to be, a number 1 wide receiver. I still think the Broncos might be hunting for a wide receiver in the offseason. Tim Patrick, I saw a question in here earlier. Unless he comes back on a vet min, he's gone. Jerry Jeudy still might be in the trade conversations. You can save $12 million with 0 dead cap trading him, and you're going to have to figure out some money somewhere. Right now, you can talk keeping Bulls. Well, okay. Keeping Courtland Sutton, you got to figure out some cash somewhere. Maybe you're talking Jeudy there, but
a different deal for Justin Simmons could save you $10, $12 million on the cap next year.
You have flexibility, but moves do have to be made.
Right.
talking about making moves. BK Mark with a 1999. You guys are killing it today. Thank you so much. We need more Victory Mondays around here. The vibes are great. Says great show. Denver Broncos for life. Only need to go 5-2 now to have a shot. That's better than 8-2, which they needed before. So, or I guess 9-2 that we needed
Yeah, I was
before.
gonna say, wait a minute, that's
Yeah.
4. I'm mathing. We're mathing bad, Nick.
Math is overrated unless it backs up my preconceived notions. But it says, assuming that happens, what is the draft strategy with the mid to late round pick, and what's Wilson's current contract? Go Broncos. I still think that we need to see what the rest of the games look like before we are absolutely all in or all out on Russell Wilson and his contract, because it is so detrimental. It would have to be pretty damn poor down the stretch to be that way. But we have 7 games. I don't think there's any reason to be definitive on that when we're going to have, 7 games is a significant sample size still. So let's see how it plays out there as far as the Wilson contract goes. And again, that's not to be a hater by any means, but why make the decision before you have all the facts? We also have the draft strategy here. Broncos could go any number of ways with that. We just talked about if Jerry Jeudy is gone, you're probably looking for another wide receiver there. This is an unbelievable wide receiver class, so you could look that way. The Broncos could also go offensive tackle. I know with the Saints, Sean Payton drafted first-round offensive tackle who ends up playing guard in the NFL, but Andreas Pete, when they didn't have a tackle spot available, they still drafted offensive line because that was what they wanted to do in identity. And they're like, well, if things aren't working on offense, we need to always be able to lean back on the offensive line. That means drafting them before you need them, even with high picks. So I think that's always a viable strategy for the Broncos. And after that, I think defensive back stands out to me a tad. You're looking to replace Fabian Moreau. You're looking to replace Kareem Jackson, PJ Locke, Caden Stearns. You can't depend on. Secondary is always a good direction to go. Scott, if you had average players across like normal years every single year, like this was an average draft class, I would say interior defensive line would be way up there for me. I don't see him in this class. I just simply do not see the horses out there to be guys in that range. There might only be one interior defensive tackle I would even sniff with a first-round grade this year.
And that's where I am. And BK Mark, I'm assuming mid to late first-round pick is what you were talking about here, not just mid to late round pick, because then it's just, you're filling needs towards the end and getting the best positions you can. But in the mid first, for me, what's suddenly become the biggest need, assuming you don't go quarterback, is the front 5, is the defensive line / edge out there. The guys on the backside, there's enough good players there that I can plug in a replacement level starter in free agency at $3-4 million like Moreau, and he's obviously making a huge impact. Those guys can be found. I've got enough surrounding those guys that I can use a mid to later round pick, a day 2 pick on safety. I got to get at least one more safety in there. And then, corners, developmental type corners. But if he's there, all the boards equal on there, man, I'm looking big DL or edge at that spot right now. I think that's where you could use the most.
I agree with you. Right now, I gotta say I haven't looked at every single guy. Of course, we got a lot of long process to go yet. But as far as interior defensive line is my favorite position to scout, Scott. Like you and I are the same there. Like I love watching dominant tackles in college football. I just don't see it this year with any of those guys, which is unfortunate. But I'm also very much of the opinion that you take advantage of strong classes in some areas and forget others. And this year really seems for the Broncos in that area, tackle and wide receiver would be strong. So a lot of options still out there, but those are ones like it's really too bad. Like 2 areas this Broncos team could use probably some of the most immediate impact on this team to make a difference. Interior defensive line would be way up there, as well as tight end. Those might be the 2 weakest spots, and running back. Those might be the weakest positions in the entire draft this season, unfortunately.
Yeah. The other part of that, though, is it's very good in free agency this year. Defensive line, the front 5 there's a lot of dudes out there in free agency. So maybe you work some magic there. Fox Family Breaks comes in first of several he's got coming this way. Love to see this team play with confidence and grit. I live in Minnesota, so this win was extra special. I wonder who will start at quarterback for the Browns. And he follows that up saying, Samaje Perine has come up clutch for us on game-winning drives. Glad we got the W since I live in Minnesota. Thanks for all you do at MHH. Well, thanks for being here, Fox Family Breaks. And what's phrase about familiarity breeds contempt. This one probably meant more to some of our Minnesota fans, like Ethan, Fox Family Breaks. We've got another one in here that's up in Minnesota. I can't remember. And I know how much this meant to y'all. And it was good. It's, again, you think it's luck. Let's do it again. Broncos have won 4 in a row executing the game plan. That's not luck. That's a team that nobody is going to want to play right now.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to figure out some things to win games because, again, I don't think the turnover margins are super sustainable. You're going to have to win games where you're zeros and the other team is not coughing it up left and right. What does that look like? Probably you don't win. You might win the Chiefs game still that you had, but you probably are not winning the Bills and the Vikings games without the massive turnover differential. And that's something they're going to have to figure out because that game is coming. That's just, I mean, how can you say the Broncos aren't going to keep turning the ball over this way? Look at the last 3. Well, we have, 100, how many endless games where it's like, oh, this has never been seen since 1997. That's
I just think
unbelievable.
When you're watching it, there's so many open shots for the offense to take that I think that if they feel they need to be more aggressive on offense, they will be, and it's there. It's there to be taken. Then, you get down 2 scores, Nick. You get down 2 scores in the second half, and if you're still trying to run the ball into a 9-man front line, then we'll talk. Okay, there's not trust here with Russell Wilson at all.
Yeah, and if there's a 9-man front line, there should be shots there to be had. I mean, it's just the numbers wise, it's like why is it
be aggressive?
If they could be hitting the explosives, I think they would be. And I think that's something where right now it's the potential negatives outweigh the potential positives. That being not just turnovers, Scott, but also sacks that, Dixon might as well get his leg, warmed up because you're probably going to be punting after it's 2nd and 12 or whatever. Like you don't have the ability to create those explosives consistently right now.
Ethan, the DWI guys, comes in at 21-20. That's a representative super chat coming in. He says, speaking of turnovers, there are a few more turnovers left on the field from that secondary. It felt like they could get a couple more and almost did. Great show, gents, and Broncos Country. Yes, thank you, sir. Appreciate the support as always. Yeah, it's feeding on itself. It's a momentum back there where everybody's hunting, and it's fun to watch. They feel like they're breaking on the ball just a little bit faster, and there's tip passes, and there's that belief where everybody's putting forth that little bit extra effort that happens when you are winning versus when you are losing games. The spirit out there, and especially on defense, there's so much involved in attitude, effort, and on defense versus the execution of offense, that playing at this level, sustainable with this amount of turnovers isn't the right word, but I don't see this defense falling off a cliff where they revert back to earlier in the season just because of the way they're playing now. Again, it's a mental toughness that this team hasn't had.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. In 21-20, I'm loving that. We need a 99-90 game in here if Ethan's going to be dropping supers like that. God bless you, Ethan. We appreciate you. Hope you're doing well. Brandon Williams comes and says, off topic, the Browns defense isn't as good as the initial stats suggest. I probably going to have to disagree with you as far as the Browns defense. I mean, you look at the metrics from the quarterback play from the Browns, and it's like they have far and away the worst quarterback output of any team in the NFL so far this season. That's pretty hard to win football games that way, but a lot of the stats suggest that they are really, really good on that side of the ball, and it's going to be tough sledding for the Broncos. This is one where you could probably say that I'm tough on the Broncos offense and Russell Wilson right now, Scott. I mean, I'm not taking the cheese right now because given all the peripheral stats say this is probably not good enough to win a normal game in the NFL. But I'm going to give them a break if they go in and beat the Browns in an ugly game because the Browns defense is unbelievable. And there is not a single defensive player in football that is playing as good of a football and as impactful as Myles Garrett right now.
There you go. This is going to be your biggest challenge. He's going to be your biggest challenge that you faced offensively over this winning streak is Myles Garrett. And I say that for basically anybody, honestly, because like you said, he might be the best defensive player in football right now. You're going to need some help on that side to wherever he is. I don't know how much he lines up on. He flops around some.
They move him around like crazy, Scott. They'll line him as a mug rusher. They're going to isolate whoever the weakest pass protector is on the Broncos, and they are going to run games to isolate Myles Garrett against them because defensive linemen can pick their matchups essentially right now.
Darius Smith is playing well on the other side.
Yeah.
As well. They're good.
This is another game where it's like unsung hero time. Samaje Perine. We love you, Jaleel McLaughlin. You're great. But I need some more number 25 out there because he's essentially been an extra offensive lineman. And against the Browns, you are going to need that. They're also a weird team. They run like, I think, way more man coverage than almost every other team in the NFL because they have the pass rushers up front to get home when you're doing that. So it'll be an interesting team. This is going to be a tough matchup. I know they gave up a lot of rushing yards to the Steelers. They gave up 10 points. I mean, it's they're unbelievable. Again,
the Steelers are a team, speaking of lack of explosives, with Kenny Pickett. I'm willing to try and let you sustain a 12 to 15 play drive. Yeah. Can you get down there without making a mistake or a negative play? Because I don't think you're going to beat me. I don't think Kenny Pickett's it. I don't think he's it.
Nope. And I see Keith Brugman also says, didn't we just go up against Danielle Hunter? Danielle Hunter is great. Myles Garrett, Danielle Hunter is great. But Myles Garrett is one of, I would say, 4 edge rushers right now. And 5 maybe. I'm not going to fight you, but Danielle Hunter is a tier under the TJ Watt, Micah Parsons, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett era. And I'm honest to God, Scott, Myles Garrett's above them all for me. Right. He is he's a goddamn alien. He is unbelievable.
I might put Micah Parsons as far as game wrecking ability in there, and Myles Garrett are in the same breath.
Yeah. God, he's unbelievable. Quentin
Carr says, appreciate the super. Says Myles Garrett is basically Charles Jefferson from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. He's really good, but and the thing is you can scheme to slow down one guy, but it's not just him. It's not just a one-man show out there. Danielle Hunter he gets his. He's really good. Mm-hmm. But the rest of the Vikings defense isn't as good as the guys playing with. So you can slow down Myles Garrett. That's fine. There's other guys that can beat you too. And Quentin Caldwell, that was funny, Garth. I appreciate it. Quentin Caldwell said when we were talking about Courtland Sutton, he says Sutton did say around week 1 he feels much better, getting healthy, feeling good. It shows, and it's the confidence. The form that he's in, is just, get it close. Horseshoes, hand grenades, and Courtland Sutton right now. When close is good enough. That's where he's playing at this level right now, and it's great to see. I'm happy for him. Mike Edel, good morning, Nick and Scott. I'm proud to be a Broncos fan in Minnesota. It was Mike who I was forgetting about. Mike, great to see you. Coming in with a super chat, another Minnesota Broncos fan who is very happy to wear his Broncos gear out and hold his head high in Minnesota today.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, it's really good to have the vibes right now. We got Mike Edel coming in too. Mike, I know you've been killing it.
I just read Mike.
I know, but I just want to say that he's been killing it. I wanted to give a shout out for the super chats last night as well. Listening to the post-game show with Zach and Chad. Saw Mike came in there too. So double dipping last night and today. Feeling the vibes out there in Minnesota. So glad you can keep your head held high. Hopefully you're not a Gopher fan too. I'm still a little salty about that Iowa-Minnesota game. But good to see you, Mike.
Yeah, if you're a Minnesota Gophers fan, I got respect. That's not an easy program to be a fan of. It's just much respect for they've not been able to have a lot of success through the years. And if you're a fan, you've earned it.
See, I got no love for Minnesota, but I'm Iowa.
It's a rivalry thing.
Yeah.
Mr. Rocket, this might close us out unless anything comes in late. There's a great question here. He says, with the Broncos winning, is George Payton, still on the hot seat as general manager? I've already fired George Payton twice, and that might be just separating by mutual consent. I'd still be leaning that way, that George Payton would still be – that Sean Payton wants to bring in his own guy. I'm not as adamant about that. And if he is the general manager come draft of this next year, I will shut up about George Payton being on the hot seat. He'll be there. This is his guy. This is Sean Payton's guy. This is the Walton Penner Group's guy. and I'll be done with it because I'll be wrong twice on this one, and I don't like being wrong 3 times. So I still feel at this point that George Payton would rather be the guy in charge, and I don't feel like he's got that here. And if they go on a winning streak, it will enhance his resume and his value, much like Russell Wilson's trade value. If he decides he wants to go get a different job somewhere, it will heighten his resume. But is George Payton still on the hot seat? Well, his value to other franchises might be warming up in a different manner of speaking.
We still have 7 games left, and if the Broncos fall short, it's certainly possible. I will say a lot of these late round guys have started to look a lot better than we saw last season, which points more towards coaching impact and development stuff. Granted, some of these undrafted guys, we had the same coaches last season, but it is George Payton. If the Broncos keep winning, there's a chance he's going to be here, but it's going to come down to what Sean Payton wants at the end of the day. I think the relationship there seems to be good, but we're not in the room all the time, and we're not going to see what it looks like or has been. So if they keep winning and they're winning football games, it's much more likely George Payton's back, but it's what Sean wants at the end of the day. He's the calling the shots. I just hope that they have somebody there that isn't a yes man to Sean Payton all the time, because you need to have a little bit of checks and balances in a football team, because the coach is always focused on the here and now and winning football games, the immediacy. General manager, front office needs to be thinking about what is the team built like for the next 3 to 5 years so we can be healthy consistently and compete and have flexibility. And these are always at battle with each other. And if one has too much power, can have issues on the other end. So hopefully have somebody that's not just a yes man.
I agree. Mike is a Colorado Buffaloes fan. Good for you. Good for you, Mike.
Tough game this last Friday. Sorry about that. It's the Washington Cougs. Mr. Rocket 199 said, what do you guys think? What about Russ? Do you all think Sean will keep him? It is still too early to show. That, yeah, I mean, that's many shows, Scott. That's a 10-part series, a docuseries. We have 7 games left to see. I think right now you're trending towards keeping him, given how detrimental it would be as a dead cap hit. I think if Russell Wilson was a free agent at the end of the year, I do think the Broncos would be looking elsewhere. But because of what the contract looks like, it's going to be pretty tough to move on from him. But we still have 7 games left, plus maybe more. So we have data. He's looked much better here as of late as far as winning games. But again, 7 games. We'll see what it looks like down the stretch.
I would say it's trending that way. It's just so much. The cost benefits are so much better if you keep him than to try and get rid of him now. Mm-hmm. And you're still in a window where you think you can win. And for me, it's a reset. You're getting rid of Russell Wilson if you need to reset things, and you're winning. You're not going to, let's say you make the playoffs and go 10-7. That's not a reset year. That's a, let's add to this and see if we can go get it again. But that is that becomes a long discussion. We'll get into that a lot. We're already here 67 minutes, so we're going to be getting out of here. That's a longer discussion with the ramifications of the contract and the dead cap and all of those type of things. Not just can he play or not. It's going to come down to so much more than that. And Michael Ronquillo coming in says, great show today, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos. Thank you, Michael, for closing us out on Facebook. And Mr. Rocket, just to finish, I don't think that's going to be a Sean Payton decision alone on whether or not Russell Wilson. That will go through the ownership as well because of the money that is invested in him. And are you willing to pay Russell Wilson 9 figures to go play somewhere else?
It's a tough one, but we don't have to worry about that right now. Right? That's tomorrow's problem. And we got, again, 7 more games to figure it out, and no reason to make a big decision on that just yet. Broncos win another one, Scott. 4 games in a row, 12 takeaways in 3 games, most since 1997. Broncos winning the last 2 games by a combined 3 points overall. It's a pretty special times, and hopefully the good times will keep rolling. Broncos keep staying in it. The 1-5 was poor, but Sean Payton's got them playing great. 4-0 in the last 4 games. Any final thoughts? I mean, game ball, Samaje Perine, Courtland Sutton, Justin Simmons on that last drive, taking the ball away. What the ability to take on Hockenson there was awesome. The Hockenson's been playing unbelievable football for that Vikings team. Just an overall great team win. Really impressive.
Vance Joseph
as well.
You
Yeah,
got the ball
yeah.
back when you needed it, and despite the fact that your guys were not making tackles, you were putting them in position to play, and you kept the team in it long enough where they could come back and win it. The Denver Broncos, an interesting stat here, had 10 quarterback hits yesterday from 9 different players.
Wow.
So that's bringing pressure from different ways.
Yeah. And you also want to talk about fluky just real quick. Broncos are I'm talking about both sides of my mouth here. The turnover is a little fluky. That Josh Dobbs touchdown where he ducked that guy and threw the touchdown, good player making plays, but that's a little fluky as well, right? That could be an easy one, flip the other way. So that's just the NFL. If you point at one single play, easy to, make too much of that. But over the long sample size of a game and a season, those things normalize. So the Broncos get a win, 21-20, 4 games in a row. The vibes are great. Broncos back to 500 for the first time since before we played football this year. So pretty incredible to see. Really excited to see the Broncos going forward here and keeping the good times rolling. Make sure you guys are keeping the good times rolling with Scott and I. Following us on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at BFB_pod as well as at Mile High Huddle. If you haven't done so yet, join us at Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle pod. And as that ticker says there underneath, if you're joining us on YouTube today or you have YouTube at all, head on over to Mile High Huddle, subscribe to the show so that way you know when we go live. A lot of other video content there to enjoy as well. Like the show with Scott and I on Broncos for Breakfast. We always appreciate that. And share on your social media platforms. Obviously, the good time. We've been here. God, I've been here since 2017. Scott, this will be my first chance to see the Broncos with a winning season, I think. Maybe they had one with Trevor Siemian. But all the bad years start to run together. But if you guys want to have more fun in here and, more people and you think Scott and I are doing a good job, share it out there. Let's get some more Broncos country in here and continue to keep the fun rolling as the Broncos are riding this winning streak.
Meaningful football in December. So we'll be back tomorrow for another full show, and we will be on time because it's just Broncos country only, Ernie, on Tuesdays.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys have a great rest of your day. We'll worry about the future and the sustainability and whatnot later. That's for a Tuesday show, Thursday throw, but it's a victory Monday today. Wins are hard to come by in the NFL, and damn, people are paying attention to the Broncos. It matters, and that's great to see. I'm sure Denver's a buzz. God bless you guys. Have a great rest of your night. Continue to choose kindness and compassion, and as always, go Broncos.